Travis Reier of the BamaOnline.com staff. Time for the 4 o'clock feeding, not the 4 a.m. feeding that the parents out there like myself probably can recall maybe more vividly than we would like, but the 4 p.m.-ish feeding, that is post-media observation period update here on the Facebook home of BamaOnline.com. The Crimson Tide back to work on Tuesday. Only 2 practices remain between now and Saturday's A-Day game at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The Crimson Tide out there in full pads on a cloudy, somewhat cool afternoon. Felt good out there. The players probably loved it. Conditions in terms of having to practice would be considered prime out there. And Alabama back at it under Nick Saban and his staff. And you always wonder, coming out of a scrimmage like Alabama had on Saturday, how a team fared physically as much as anything. You don't want to see big-time injuries at this time of year. We've seen them in the past. Derrick Henry was injured during a spring practice. Cam Sims last year obviously went out. So you like to see teams stay healthy this time of year, and it looks like Alabama came out of Saturday's scrimmage no worse for wear. In fact, we did see Deshaun Hand, the defensive end, back on the practice field today. Deshaun had missed the last 3 practices with a back issue. He was out there with the defensive lineman this afternoon. He was in a crimson jersey to begin the drills. Saw him shed that jersey. Looks like he may be in non-contact for the rest of the day. So we'll see how he progresses between now and Thursday, when the Crimson Tide practices again in advance of Saturday's A-Day scrimmage at Bryant-Denny. So from a health standpoint, Alabama looks to be in pretty good shape. Eddie Jackson out there in his crimson number 4, working at free safety. Dakota Ball, he's been in and out. The reserve defensive lineman, worked at tight end last year. He's kind of been bouncing between active and inactive during spring drills. He was on an exercise bike to begin drills, but may be able to do some things throughout the workout. So again, though, from a health standpoint, Alabama looking to be in pretty good shape. Defensively, a team that continues to tinker with some things, more so maybe in that back 7. Reuben Foster is a given at inside linebacker. I think he's going to be similar to what we saw with Rolando McClain back in 2008 and 2009, more so in that he'll stay at that inside spot in either the base, nickel, or dime packages. You could see him kick out to the outside in some pass rush looks, but a guy that you can count on in the middle of that defense. But we did see Sean Dion Hamilton working next to Reuben in the nickel package today. That's a little bit different. Still seeing Maurice Smith as your star defensive back in the nickel. We did see typical corners in Fitzpatrick and Humphrey, and Eddie Jackson, Ronnie Harrison obviously on the back end, and still a lot of competition for that third safety spot, I would say. And right now I would think it's probably Maurice Smith, but when they go to dime, if Smith's in there at star, they need a third safety. Because Harrison is still working at that money position in the 6 defensive backs look. So Hootie Jones, Deontay Thompson, Sean Burgess-Becker, those are some of the guys competing for a role, not only at safety, but also we saw Burgess-Becker and Deontay Thompson today getting some work at that money position in the dime. So you got to know a couple different spots. You're not going to have the luxury, at least in most instances, of just being a safety or just being a corner. You got to learn those nickel and dime positions at both of those spots. So a little bit of movement in the back 7 this afternoon. Again, a time for giving guys a lot of looks, and guys are getting a lot of looks. We're even seeing some walk-ons in the mix at corner and at safety. So everybody's sort of on the board right now during spring practice. But offensively, no real noticeable changes. When you talk about the offensive line, it looks like they came out of that second scrimmage with the group that we saw last week pretty much intact, with Ross Pierce-Baker still working at center, Lester Cotton at left guard, Cam Robinson, if healthy, is your left tackle. We know that, but Corin Curvin is still working at that spot with Robinson out. Right guard, Still Brandon Kennedy with Alphonse Taylor in there. That's probably the biggest competition, I would think, on the offensive line. Right tackle still, I would say you're looking at some competition there, but a true freshman, Jonah Williams, could be on his way to doing something. We've seen from some true freshmen in the past, Robinson, Andre Smith. Although they did it on the left side, I think you could see Jonah Williams as a starter at right tackle as a true freshman in 2016. So nothing of major note on that offensive line. Quarterbacks, receivers out there doing their thing once again, and obviously a lot of eyes will be on those guys on Saturday. We love our post-spring practice meltdowns, post-A-Day meltdowns when it comes to quarterbacks. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a case once again on Monday following this Saturday spring game. Who knows? Maybe Cooper Bateman, David Cornwell light it up. Blake Barnett plays well. Maybe it's Jalen Hurts. The good thing is there's enough options at that position that you have to think somebody's going to play well Saturday. We may melt down about a couple of 3 other guys, but there'll probably be one guy that we'll have anointed as the next Joe Namath come Monday. And everybody else can't play. That's what we do here. I mean, that's who we are. That's what we do. But some practice visitors out there today. Caught a glimpse of Bobby Humphrey out at practice this afternoon, the Alabama great. Nothing like watching number 26 on the toss sweep in the mid to late 80s. It didn't get any better, for me anyway, than watching Bobby Humphrey do his thing. Has to be a thrill for him to be out there watching his son Marlon. But when I see Bobby Humphrey, I think toss sweep, I think running through the mud against Penn State, I think Tennessee game in '86, I guess it was, up in Knoxville. Just a great player for Alabama, and always a smile on the face of Bobby Humphrey. That was the case once again out there with some practice observers checking out his son and the Alabama Crimson Tide. So again, from a health standpoint, everybody looked pretty good. Hand, I would say, yeah, probably not going to risk it too much with him, although he was out there again today. You know, about what you would expect. We talked about the defense, the back 7 specifically. Still some moving pieces back there. Still some competition, more so in some depth situations at corner and safety. But, you know, the tight ends, everything's about what you would expect with O.J. Howard and Hale Hentges. The running backs, still Bo Scarborough and Damian Harris. You talk about a couple guys that'll be of interest to watch on Saturday. Can Bo Scarborough make it 3 straight scrimmages with 100 rushing yards? He's done it in the first 2. Expectations are steadily climbing. He was a 25-1 Heisman favorite before the start of spring drills. If he blows up on Saturday on national television, our friends in the desert may drop those numbers a little bit. You never know, but we'll see. And should be a lot of fun. Certainly encourage you to stay tuned to BamaOnline.com. Baseball over at the Joe tonight as UAB visits the Crimson Tide. Alabama coming off a series at Kentucky where it lost 2 of 3, lost to UAB in a midweek game a couple of weeks ago. Try to get back to even with the Blazers this evening over at Sewell Thomas Stadium. Alabama softball on the road at Southern Miss. Patrick Murphy's team's playing lights out right now. Pitching, hitting, playing defense, doing it all. Seems to be really finding its stride at about the right time. And right here in Coleman Coliseum, seeing signs of the gymnastics team getting ready for the national championships coming up this weekend. We got the balance beam out here. We got the bars. Maybe I'll get out there and do a routine or 2. A few dismounts. What do you think? Nah, probably not. Anyway, keep it right here for Bama, to Bama Online, and also on the Facebook home of Bama Online right here for continuing coverage of the Crimson Tide. As always, we appreciate you tuning in and look forward to joining you again following Thursday's observation period out on the practice fields.